Hello, sports fans. My name is Adam McKay, and you are watching the Learning to Image channel, where we, by we I mean I, try and help you do good shots. Today, we're going to take this gem of a photo and hopefully turn it into something looking more like this. Should be fairly quick, fairly easy, fairly painless. Let's get started. So to start, this is the Great Ocean Road in Australia. I was there a couple years ago shooting a wedding, and I brought only my Fuji X100S and XT-2. I believe this was the X100, but I could be wrong. Oh, no, XT-1. There you go, with the 18-55 lens. I've since got rid of that camera. I'm back on the Nikon D750, but I think I'm going to sell my 750 and end up switching back to the Fujis. I just love them so much. And this was shot raw, as all my photos are, because I love that extra room to play around with. So let's get started. So I'm going to hit R on the keyboard to bring up the crop tool. You can also, of course, just click the crop tool. And there's two ways to level this. This water here is not level. Let's start by leveling it. You can click and drag till it looks about right. Or we can simply grab this angle tool right here. This is the easiest way to go about it. Click on the water, the horizon, whatever you want to be level. And bada boom, bada bing. It is now level. Should it be? Yeah, looks about right. It's just kind of messing me up here because we've got this little mountain in the background. So first off, this photo is a bit dark, but the sky is a bit bright. So if we just were to crank up the exposure here, this is what we get. So now the trees and grass here are exposed a bit better, but the sky is completely gone. But luckily we shoot raw, and we can mess around with this in a bit of an easier way, or more precise way, sorry. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with the blacks, and make sure that we have a little bit of black in this image, which we do down in here. And then make sure my brightness is good. Take the whites, same thing. And now I know I want to lift these shadows up a bit to get more detail. If I lift it all the way up, it looks a bit HDR-y. HDR-y? Whoa. And I don't necessarily want that. So what I'm going to do is fiddle around with this till I get it at a level I kind of like. Take my highlights, bring those down actually. Kind of want more of the sky detail in there. I might open up this contrast just a bit. Bring that exposure tool just up somewhat. I'm going to take the vibrance slider, add a bit of pump or pop in here. One effect you can do too is take the vibrance up and the saturation down. It gives it a fun little look. I don't know why. I don't particularly even know what these sliders do specifically. But fiddle around. There's no right or wrong way to do any of this. And then here we can bring our blacks all the way up. Just kidding. Don't want to do that. Okay, then let's mess around with this white balance a bit. Let's bring it to daylight, see what that looks like. Warms everything up a bit. We can go to cloudy. Or we can go to as shot and mess around with it manually. Let's see here. You know what? I kind of like it a bit cooler. So I'm going to cool it down just a bit. All right, that's nice. And then now the infamous clarity slider, which every photographer seems to overdo, including myself. So let's just play with this. Bring it all the way to one side. Ooh, too much. All the way to the other side. Ooh, way too much. And this is one of the tools. The clarity slider is just adding contrast to the midtones. I've said that before, but I will say it again, and I'll probably keep saying it. So you can get a little bit of punch with the clarity slider. And that looks about good to me. Excellent. And then, you know what? In looking at this, and since I already made this photo here, what I'm going to do is give this a cinematic crop. So I am also a cinematographer and a filmmaker, and I'm in love with the widescreen aspect ratio. And in case you're wondering what that ratio is, it varies. Sometimes it's 239 to 1, 235 to 1, 240 to 1. So for our purposes, what I'm going to do is click here. I already have it here, but I'll show you how to do it. We can go to Enter Custom, and you can go 2.35 to 1. Boom, and now you have that cinematic widescreen aspect ratio. Open this up a bit, get the most out of the image that we can. All right, so now when we're looking at our reframing in post, you know, and some photographers, let me say, some photographers, I think Jared Polin is one of them, Frono's photo. You should check him out if you haven't. He doesn't crop any of his images, so he says. He just likes to get it right in camera, and while I would love to do that most of the time, I see no harm in this, and it allows for a lot of creative freedom to be able to do it later. So do what you want. There's no rules to any of this. Having said that, following compositional rules or suggestions, rule of thirds, right? So let's separate this, and let's explain why this compositionally works. And I know I took the photo, and it's easy for me to say that, but I'm going to explain it to you. We have nodal point, nodal point, nodal point, nodal point. These intersecting lines here, where these lines intersect, are called nodal points. And things of interest at these nodal points generally focus the eye there. The other thing you want to do is put your horizon often either on one of these thirds and not necessarily smack dab in the middle. Having said that, I have plenty of photos where my horizon is right in the middle here. But for this one, I kind of like the sky. The road's not that interesting, so I'm going to bring my horizon bottom third in line with my horizon about here. So now we have this twisty road sign right here, close to this nodal point, also on a third. We have this over here filling this third. We have this leading you to this nodal point, right? And then this kind of falls off in the background. So this is actually a really great setup to find, because the most contrasty area is right here, because we have the sun coming through here, hitting this bush, making it really pop. This is all in shadow. So it's kind of softer, but you see like the edges here are kind of rimmed. And then over here, the haze in the air kind of fades this off. So our eye naturally kind of flows back into this area. So it just really gives it an interesting perspective. So I'm going to just adjust this a bit more here. Beautiful. So now we have this crop. This is the before and after now. And if you want to see where we started from again, we can just hit reset. Whoa, big difference, right? But we're not done yet. In fact, I'm going to bring this up a bit more, just so I get a little bit more road. Nice. Okay, this, looks pretty good. I don't feel terrible about this photo. Right? So let's go down over here. So we can again adjust contrast with these curves. We can add a bunch of points here, micro contrast adjustments. I'm not going to do that, and I very, very rarely use the tone curve here. It's just not part of my workflow, really. I do often come down here, though, so this is what we can do. I like to go to color. And then we can start messing with individual colors if we'd like. So we can take our blue channel here and just affect the saturation of just the blues. Furthermore, we can change the hue of said blues. Right? This feels like a D12 video from early 2000. You know what I mean? And the luminance value. So with skies like this, you can see when I bring the luminance value down, this clouds immediately gets more detail in them. So this is something I'm actually going to do. And I'm also going to bring the saturation up just a bit, make those blues pop. And then we're gonna mess with that. No, bring that down. And let's play with these greens here, see what this does. So it turns out, oh, aqua, wrong one. All right. So you know what? I'm actually gonna bring the saturation of these greens down just a bit. And let's see what the luminance values do here. I'm also going to bring the luminance down. So luminance is essentially the light and dark, the brightness value of the color, as I understand it. I'm also going to shift this towards yellow just a bit. Okay, let's click the yellows. See here, yellow. You know what? I'm going to bring this yellow towards orange and take the luminance of it, bring it up ever so slightly. Now we're just affecting the sign. Does everyone see this? Sign, this in the background, some of this sky. Bring this luminance up just a bit, saturation up just a tad. Oranges. You know what? I'm actually going to decrease the saturation of the oranges quite a bit here. And bring them a bit towards the red side, luminance. Bring the luminance value down a tad. Okay, so again, before, sorry. Before. All right, looking pretty good. And now we're going to use this right here. So this is like the classic cinematic grading technique, is to add blue to the shadows and yellowy orange to the highlights. So let's see if we crank this up here. This looks ridiculous, I know, but I'm just finding a color blue that I like. And that looks pretty good. And then we will crank this up and find a complementary color. Maybe somewhere over here. So now we're going to bring this down, this way down, till we reach some happy medium. We can shift towards the coolness. Bring this down here like this. Also, I would like to know if, would you guys find it helpful if I share some of these raw files? So in these kind of videos, I don't know if this is even going to be a good video or if people find this interesting or are learning anything from it. But if you do and you would like to, I don't mind sharing some of these raw files so you can kind of play with them yourself, work with them, follow along. All right, let's bring this down a bit. So back to the sharpening. With the Fuji, I know already I'm going to crank this detail slider up. It just kind of looks the best. And then I'm going to go back here, hit Alt or Option. If you're on a Mac, I'm going to get rid of some areas here that I don't want to be sharpened. This is not coming up. Grain I'm going to add at the very end, and then dehaze. Let's crank this up, see what happens. That looks absolutely disgusting. In the opposite direction. Ooh, that looks also disgusting. Let's see what happens if we bring it up just a bit, though. Ah, yes, gives it a bit of punch. Now, one tip we have, I'm going to hit L twice, and then you squint at your photo. And if you squint at your photo, you'll tend to pick out first. You'll see where your eye is drawn to. So here, it's like this sky is a bit too hot for me. Hit L again, open that up. So there's a few ways we can go about this. And one of the ways, this is one of my tricks, and I'm sure there's an easier way of doing this, but this is how I do it, and it seems to work. So I take the radial filter tool, which can be found up here. You can also hit Shift M, as I'm finding out right now. And I like to do this with it. Bring this over, stretch this all the way over, and do this again. I'm just clicking and dragging it. And now I'll bring this all the way over like this until I find the center point. So now I put the center point on my horizon like this, and some of you might know where I'm going with this already. Point of interest, horizon there. Bring this down a bit. So now I'm going to make sure this is on the outside. So this is the inside, this is the outside. I'll keep my feathering all the way up. Now we take our exposure slider and we start bringing it down. So if I bring it all the way down, this looks ridiculous, right? But there's a spot between here and here where we can darken this bottom bit and this top bit, and it'll be subtle enough that you won't really notice. Okay, all right, and then we've kind of gone past. I like to look up here in the preview window because you'll get a better idea. Somewhere around there looks pretty good, and then we can also add or take away contrast from this area, but I'm not going to do that. And then we can adjust, bring this down or up based on our wants and needs. So this is also what I'm going to do here. I'll show you something. Okay, nice, looking pretty good. Let's adjust this a bit more, see what we get. All right. We can also add more haze, or what do we want from the outside there? We will bring perhaps the highlights down just a bit. Okay. There's a mask tool here as well, but we're not going to get into that today. All right. How's this looking? Let's bring these highlights back down a bit. These whites up just a bit. Use our handy Alt tool. All right. Cool. I'd say we're looking pretty good. I'm going to lower these shadows back down a bit, actually. And you know what? I'd call that done. Looks pretty good to me. Got some detail in the shadows. We got this road curving into this area back here. This sign, if we wanted the sign a bit brighter, we could go over here. And we can just take the brush tool if we want. Turn the exposure up a tad. Auto mask is on. Paint this sign a bit brighter. And then now we can adjust the exposure further, should we desire. So this is just kind of quick and dirty here, but you get the idea. I'm of course not going to do that because I kind of don't want it to be the focus of attention. If we wanted to as well, we could go up here with a graduated filter. Come down with it like this. And bring the exposure of the sky up or down. We could change the white balance here. And then you might be saying, bring this clarity, kind of looks nice with there. But Adam, it hit everything else. Yes, it did. But there's one way we can go about this. We can go with the brush tool. Whether we can hit erase, turn this flow up, feather up, and now we can actually erase the parts of the image we don't want that graduated filter on. So over here, back in here, any of this, just right here. So now it's just affecting the clouds up top. So if we delete this, it was subtle, but it was there. Anyway, thought I'd share this. Let's see how close we were to the original, or the original edit. So one, and two, and one, and two. I actually prefer this second one. It's got a bit more punch, actually. Oh, okay. Original to the final. I actually don't know what this tool is. Maybe we should do a video on it. It's a bit embarrassing. Neat. All right. So I don't know if that was helpful for any of you. If you enjoyed it, like I said, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down if you hate it. Leave it in the comments. What would you like to see? How can I help you do good shots? Thank you very much. This has been Adam McKay. Be good to one another.